SoundHound was down over 15% last week. It's down 3% in the last month, but it is up about 8% in the last 12 weeks. So right now, SoundHound is looking indecisive. It can't decide whether it wants to move up and break 1273 or it's going to fall further and break $9 and head down further. So in this video, I'm going to conduct a price analysis for SoundHound and try and offer some thoughts on where this stock is heading next. Let's take a look. I'd like to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/DavidB for the 5 best stocks to buy now. Use my special link to get $200 off their epic annual subscription. If you find value in my analysis of SoundHound stock today or other stocks on my channel, you may also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. Link down below, check it out. So SoundHound was down 15%, almost 16% last week. It's up over the last 12 weeks, but it is looking bearish the last 2 to 3 weeks. You can see, looking on screen at the weekly chart, last week was bearish and so was the week before. Now, looking at this chart here, we can see that more recently, SoundHound did break this confirmed downtrend line. It did look as if it was breaking out and potentially moving up into this zone, up to challenge $25. Zooming out on the weekly chart, we can see SoundHound has been trending up since around about April 2024. So over a year now, it has been moving up, making higher highs and higher lows, confirming it's in an uptrend. Now, looking on the chart here, we can see during December 2024, it did break out. It did surge up, and there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 bullish weeks up, with price surging from around about $6 up to create this peak of $25 in December last year. So a really massive surge for SoundHound. $6 up to $25, that is over 300% increase. So well done if you caught that move, a healthy profit. Of course, there wasn't much indication that SoundHound was going to break out like that from a technical perspective. It just went straight up with no red bar pulling back to show the higher low and to enter on confirmation. Now, since that high, SoundHound has been sold off. So basically, over the last 6 months, it has fallen from $25. It's trended down, creating these lower highs and lower lows as it's trended down gradually into this support at around about $6.44. This trough here is where SoundHound has stopped falling. Of course, looking at the bigger picture over the last 12 months, we can see SoundHound is trending up with a steady rate. Now we can see, zooming in on the weekly chart for SoundHound, we can see after this trough here, around about $6.50, price did move up and break the trend line, confirming that the trend was changing and price was more likely to move up. And you can see here, very bullish bar in this week in April. Then there were 2 pullbacks in the next following 2 weeks, but the pullback was only small. You can see the breakout peaked around about $10, and then that low there, that close about $9. So only a small pullback after the breakout, which is very bullish. And the week after, it moved up again, very convincingly, very bullish. It moved up to create this peak here around about $12.67. It didn't close all the way up, but it closed quite convincingly, about halfway on the bar. Now, next week could go either way based on that indecisiveness in the close. And sellers did come back in the week after and they sold off the stock. It ended up closing the week after around about $9.59. Now, since that week there in May 2025, it has been quite choppy. So price did move up, got rejected, it closed back down about $10. The week after, got rejected at around about $9.24, closed back up there. Bearish the week after, closed about $9 support, And then from that point, from that first week of June, SoundHound was looking bullish. It was moving up. It moved up gradually, closing higher each week. And in this week here, July the 7th, the first week of July, price did break out above this peak here of 1267. So it did break above to a high of 1348. Very bullish. But over the week, it couldn't close above that last peak, showing there was some selling pressure. It closed around about 50% in the bar, about 1162. Week after, bullish again, price did move up. It did once again trade above that last peak, and it did close just above it. So very bullish. Now, based on that price action, you could have taken an entry on confirmation. However, if you had entered the week after on market open, about $13, you would have seen price fall away that week, and I think you would have got stopped out. And look, I think based on my experience and my rules, I might have taken that entry based on my rules. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. You can follow your rules, enter on confirmation, and obviously have your stop loss there. And if it's triggered, follow your rules and take the exit. It does look as if now there is strong resistance here at this level. It's around about 1275. So you can see it broke through here, closed underneath. It broke through on this week. It did close above, but it wasn't a very strong close. Sellers came back in the next week and ended up closing low, and there was more selling of SoundHound last week. It was sold off, and it ended up closing last week around about $10.10. So since the breakout back here in April 21st, SoundHound has been trading between $9 and up until around about $12.70. So it's trading in this range here. But overall, in the past few months, it is moving up. It is trending up gradually. And if we zoom out, you can see it is still sticking above this longer term trend line over the last 12 to 18 months. So that's positive for SoundHound. Now, with those two bearish bars over the last 2 weeks, the risk at the moment is towards the downside. We have to expect, with such a bearish bar last week, we have to expect more selling in the next week. So next week, there is the risk that SoundHound might move lower. It might move back down and test this level of $9. That's a possibility. You can see that it has found support there during these previous weeks on multiple occasions. So $9 does seem like a strong level of support for SoundHound. And not only is that support for SoundHound around about $9, but you could also use the longer term trend line to indicate support as well. So I think really it does look as if $9 is a key level for SoundHound. If it trades underneath $9 in the next few weeks and potentially closes underneath this trend line, that would be a bearish sign for the stock. And it would suggest that it's moving down into this red zone and potentially it's going to challenge this low of $6.50 once again. That is possible. But first, it has to break this level here of $9 in the next few weeks, and then obviously break the longer term trend line. So that bearish scenario might unfold in maybe 2, 4, maybe 6 weeks. That is possible. For a more bullish scenario for this SoundHound stock, I wouldn't want to see price trade lower than 965 next week. I want to see it reverse next week to show that buyers are coming back in for this stock. Now, it could trade lower next week. It could find support at $9 and then reverse. That's also possible. I think if it breaks $9, there is a high probability it's going to move down lower. So next week, I want to see it hold where it is, or at least touch $9. And I want to see a reversal bar to show that the buyers want to take this stock higher. And over the next few weeks, price has to trade back up and test this level here of around about $12.75. We can see from the last 4 weeks price action, it has struggled to get above this level and close for the week, showing buyers are in control and they want to take the price from this level here higher, up towards potentially here about $17.50, and then up towards this peak here of $25. So overall, since the trend line break, the price action hasn't been that convincing for SoundHound in the short term, but longer term, you can see it is moving up gradually. It is still sticking above this longer term trend line. So that is long-term bullish. It's just that short term, the price action hasn't moved up that quickly. I think if you're looking to buy SoundHound stock in the future, I'd be looking for perhaps, an entry above this level here, around about 12.75. I'd want to see a very strong close for this stock. So perhaps next week it holds where it is, perhaps it comes down to test $9, and then perhaps over the next few weeks, it comes back up maybe to, let's say, 11.50, and then after another test, it then breaks out above this level here. But I want to see a really convincing, green bar above this level, perhaps closing around about $13.80, $14. That would be a very bullish close above this level, and it would give you confirmation that buyers want to clear this price action here, and they want to go up towards perhaps 17.5 and on to $25 over the medium term. So a trade entry perhaps around about 13.75 would give you upside potential around 80% to this target level up here of $25. And with a 15% stop loss, your risk to reward is 5.13. You could even target this level here perhaps as stage 1, 30% upside around about 17.80, and then if it trades through there quite convincingly, hold for the target of $25. Based on the last 2 weeks for SoundHound, it does look bearish. It does look as if it's going to come back and perhaps test this level of $9 in the next few weeks. And then, if buyers come back in, it'll reverse and come back up and test this level once again. And then for an entry, you can consider entering well above that line to show that the buyers are in control before risking your money. Now, earnings is due in 6 days. You can see the little marker here. So it's a high risk time to buy this stock or any stock around earnings, because when they report, if it's positive, the price can shoot up. If it's negative, it can fall away. Sometimes it can do nothing at all. All depends on how investors react to the news and the report. So overall, it might be best to wait to invest in SoundHound at the moment, or even trade this stock. Earnings is around the corner, and we have had 2 bearish weeks down. So perhaps you could look at this in another couple of weeks and then potentially take an entry. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you in SoundHound now? Are you considering an entry? I'm keen to hear from you. Thanks for watching.